July episode of More or Less. This month, because we are in summertime, we are going to be talking about travel. And today we have James and Cody with us again. Cody, how are you today?
I am doing very well, and I just want to remind everybody this podcast is brought to you by Baker Orthotics and Prosthetics, and we are here for you and all of your orthotic and prosthetics needs. You can give us a call at 817-332-7313. And if you miss that, don't worry about it. We'll find you, and you can find us on Whole Person on the Mighty Network app on your phone. So we're talking about travel today.
Yes.
And as we are coming out of the pandemic, I say coming out of, some places are a little bit more in it, some places are a little bit more in it. So people are traveling more. I know I've been out and about, flying, driving, you name it, and we want to share with everybody some tips, tricks, pointers, reduce some of the anxiety that comes from the unknown as a person with a limb difference. When we go to fly, we're wondering, is the TSA really going to hammer down on me? Is there any way to make this easier? How do I get through the airport when I really can't walk that far?
Right.
So
There's a lot of confusion and just uncertainty, especially if you don't travel a lot. I know that both of you travel a lot for your jobs. I don't. So when I travel, it's much more of an event than it probably is for both of you. So I'm going to let the ins and outs of everyday travel experiences to the experts, and I will chime in a little bit later with what I am good at, which is finding freebies and discounts for travel, especially when you are living with a disability. So James, I know that you just came back from traveling to Texas. So can you tell us kind of what you, as a seasoned traveler living with limb loss, how you prepare to go to the airport, what you expect, and what your typical experience is as a below knee? And then Cody, I think we can talk about, is it different as an above knee, and how are things different and how are they the same?
Well, thank you. First of all, I was glad to be on here. This topic is, man, it's fresh for me because I literally just finished getting on an airplane this week. So let me address the first aspect of preparation before I go. Since I know I'm going to get on the airplane, I don't want to go through some awkward or weird experiences that I faced in the past. So I'll make sure that I wear my prosthetic without the sleeve, being below the knee. I won't put the sleeve. I have one on the outside. So, but I won't put that on, which will save some of the swabbing, testing me, or sense of embarrassment. I'll wear shorts, and I will make sure that I've worn loose garments because of the way they pat us down, because you're going to set it off when I go through. So I make it, and I bring a change of clothes in the backpack that I carry, so that once I'm through the security, I can then dress for whatever occasion or however I'm more comfortable. But to deal with the way that TSA will interact with me, I definitely make adjustments in my wardrobe, wearing shorts, making sure the leg is visible completely. Otherwise, wearing pants, I've experienced where I go through, I'm going to set it off. I warn them, I'm going to set it off. They bring me through. They wand me down, say, we still find metal. I'm sure you did. I just told you. I'm an amputee. And usually it's an inexperienced person that wants me to pull my pant leg up in front of everyone. They never offer me privacy or those things. And so if those things are important to you, just know that you can request a private room, but it may take longer.
Exactly.
Can I jump in real quick? I want to say
Absolutely.
one thing about what he was talking about with the swabbing down and the whole process there. So I was told in the past that it would be great for me to get the Tsa Pre-Check. You'll hear about this if you're going to go to travel. And everybody says, oh, the pre-check will let you bypass the line and you go to a different area and you get to keep your shoes and all of these things, and they don't hassle you or anything like that. For us, that is not the case. I've gone through and got my pre-check done, where you are signed up with the government with all these different pieces of paper, and it's like, I think it's like 80 some odd dollars for a year or so. The problem is you still have to go through the big x-ray machine,
Right.
and they will pull you out of the pre-check line and put you into that other line. So
Wow.
I found it to be a little bit of a waste of money for me to go through the pre-check system, since I have to go through the same process that everybody else does anyway. So just trying to save you a little bit of money, a little bit of time, and that situation right there.
That's
All right.
great. That's great.
Yeah.
So I
ahead,
think
Peggy.
I'd like to just talk through what is supposed to happen with TSA and how they are, from an administrative view, supposed to be handling every individual with limb loss or with a cast or with any of these medical issues that are going through. And I do the same thing as James. I always make sure my prosthetic is visible. So when you go through, make sure that they're aware that you have a prosthetic, only because it makes it easier. They're going to find it anyway. So when they find it by surprise, then it takes a little bit longer for them to get you into the line where you need to be. I know for me as a female, I always have to get a female assist. I'm sure that you get the male assist. A tip that I've learned: when you're at the airport, you can actually skip the whole long meandering waiting in line for security when you have a prosthetic. Make it visible, say, I'm going to need a pat down, and they will usually bump you and your entire party up to the front of the line. So I kind of consider that a nice little perk for what's going to happen next, which is you go through the big x-ray machine. They always pull you aside and say, stand over here. Then you hear female assist, and somebody will come and they'll take the swab. They'll swab my hands, they'll swab my prosthetic, and they'll just pat me down on the outside and say, do you have anything in your pockets? I usually don't. Then they take the swab, run it through their little machine, and then it's usually, okay, you're clear to go. That is how it is supposed to happen. If you have a lot of inexperienced TSA people who don't really have the experience of dealing with a lot of amputees. I live outside of DC, so there's a lot of us always coming in and out of our airports. Some of the smaller airports, there's a little bit more confusion on how they're supposed to handle it. But from an administrative perspective, that is supposed to be the standard of how you are supposed to deal with amputees going through TSA. There might be some variations on that. They should not ask you to take off your prosthesis.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
They should not ask you to take off your shoes. If they try to, that's probably the main thing that I hear is take off your shoes. I'm like, I'm an amputee. I can't really walk without my shoe. Oh, okay. And then they're apologizing, which is nice, but they don't need to, because they're just learning to. But that, you don't have to take off your shoes. You don't have to take off your prosthetic. You do have the right to a private pat down if you prefer. That takes a lot longer. I will tell you that because I have done that just to see. So I had a comparison on how long it would take, and it took about 40 minutes for them to find somebody to get the room, get all my stuff and go. And when you ask for the private pat down, at least for me, they also then go through all of your carry-on luggage. So they will take, like, they're taking apart the diaper bag and pulling stuff out, where if you don't opt for the private pat down and the private room, you have a much easier chance of getting through quickly without the issues. Some things that I've learned as not quite an experienced traveler as you is they're just doing their job. Right? They're not out to get you. They're not out to make your life as an amputee more frustrating. They're not out to embarrass you. They're doing their job. If you go in with a smile, if you go in politely, if you don't make the snide comments, travel is a stressful time. TSA people get yelled at all the time. It's one of those jobs. Every time I see them, my heart goes out, because there's always somebody yelling at them, right?
Yeah.
If you go in with a smile, if you go in, I have a prosthesis, and, can I pat you down? Of course, that's your job.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot farther. They're going to help you out more, especially if you're in a rush.
Yeah. Make small talk with them too, and they like to chit chat about what you're wearing and all the kind of technology. They eat that up, and that makes them more calm.
It is, and when they're dealing with us, there are two other things. I did notice that they do as a Houston hobby. They use dogs a lot, and so dogs do respond differently to prosthetics. And so don't be nervous about the fact that the dog will come and check out your leg. It's a different scent than the rest of the people are, so that's going to be a different experience. That was the first time I've only had that happen just now, but it was definitely a different experience having the dog like, hey, there's something here. This is different, and then they were like, sir, don't worry about it. I was like, man, I didn't like that, but it was different. I will say this though, that we can also get pre-boarding. It's essential. You don't need to be in a wheelchair, but it is essential that you get good seating. Don't simply wait if you're traveling. You say, well, I'm in group C, I'll be going in the end, because for me, with my height, as well as being an amputee, being cramped up where I can't move my legs, or if I don't have a aisle seat, so I prefer I'm a right below the knee. I prefer to sit on the left side of the plane towards the aisle so I can stretch my leg out and not have it up. I've noticed that if I wear the sleeve, it cuts up the circulation a little bit more, so it's probably good not to have that on at that time. But in those cases, if I'm can't get an aisle seat because I didn't do the pre-boarding, I've been limited and had to rely on people's graces to switch seats or something, because there's just not a lot of room. And it's really essential that we think about your own comfort.
And it's especially with like Southwest, where you don't have assigned seats.
Right.
You can get the little blue card, at least it used to be blue, and your whole party can pre-board as well. And it really does. It just makes it easier, especially if you're carrying on, your prosthetic supplies, right? So if you're bringing a spare leg or a spare arm or whatever, that carry-on can be heavier or bulkier. So you have a little bit of extra time, which kind of brings me to, don't ever, ever, ever check your prosthetics in the bags to go in the belly of the plane. Always carry on your devices if you can. That does not count against your carry-on allowance, and they are not allowed to charge you for any of your DME supplies.
Nice.
So just let them know, this is my prosthetic, this is my blade, these are my medical supplies for my device, my liner, whatever. That does not count against your carry-on. Carry it on your person, because when those things go in the belly of the plane, especially nowadays, it's kind of, you hope you're going to get everything back. But if your luggage gets lost and your leg is in there, then you're really, really in a much worse situation. So they won't charge for it. Carry it on.
So gonna step back one step and go back to the TSA real quick. If you don't already have one, get a little pump spray, like a large, looks like Banaka spray, for your donning liquids. Don't use like a big, pump spray bottle like that. It's a little hand spritzer, because those other bottles will get taken away from you at the TSA counter, or they'll really freak out about it and want to know what's going on with the rubbing alcohol you have in the bottle. But yeah, I've pre-boarded where I didn't have to say I was pre-boarding. I didn't sign up for anything. I'll just walk up with my leg exposed, and they never care.
Right.
You can get up there at the front of the line, and they are always accommodating. So don't feel afraid or ashamed or anxious about getting up there. I've never seen anybody have any qualms about letting us in early. So
and we can't let pride. Sometimes I didn't, see seniors going up and I see other people, and I didn't want to look like, hey, I'm taking advantage, because if I have on pants, sometimes it's difficult for people to know anything, right? But you can't have head trash about it. Make yourself uncomfortable trying to make other people feel okay with something that they don't even know anything about. It's about you and your journey. And you're speaking about bottles. Like I have one. I empty my bottles before I go there. That way you don't spend $4 for water as well, guys. It's about saving every dime for us.
Absolutely.
Live loss community, the budget isn't always that great. So let's take advantage and save our dollars.
And I think we're all very fortunate in that we are very mobile individuals who use prosthetics. It's not always the case. I know I have been in situations where I've had to fly after a revision surgery and I wasn't as ambulatory. I know a lot of people in our community, there's different levels of ambulation. And these airports are big. Some of them are, some I get out of breath walking, right?
Yeah.
You can ask for somebody to help you. They
Mm-hmm.
will, when you go, you can either call ahead of time, let them know, hey, I'm coming, I'm going to need assistance, and they'll have somebody there for you. They'll make a mark on it and there will be somebody ready. Or when you get to the airport, just let them know, I really need assistance. They won't charge you for that, but they do need, I think they get a salary, but I know that tips are expected. So if somebody does, especially if they're pushing a wheelchair with you in it, there is an expectation that you're going to tip.
Yeah.
But just let them know. I know that it's hard to ask for help. That's definitely not my strength. Sometimes it's necessary and there's no judgment.
Yeah.
If you need help to get through these airports, then ask for help.
Always contact your airport ahead of time. Look on their websites for, handicapped or disabled services of any kind. And there's a long list of people and services available to you there. There's moving sidewalks there that can help you to kind of ease the burden of getting long distances. There's trams, skywalks, all kinds of things that you can get through the airport quickly. So when we get off the plane and we got to go somewhere, how do you all handle it?
So it depends. Like if you're going to rent a car, I do want to say, I don't think we're going to do a deep dive into rental cars and how to get the pedal adapters and all of that. Know that with most major car rental agencies, there is an option to reserve a car with the adaptations that you need. It is possible to reserve a car where you're going that has hand controls if that is what you need. And just call your rental company and have that discussion.
Yeah. Probably easier to get a ride service for most of us. It's a kind of a universal thing. So kind of expect that. And just in case somebody's inadvertently reserved the one car they have with the hand controls. So always budget for something like that.
Absolutely.
All right. So now we've gotten to where we're going.
One thing.
Oh, you got something.
Now, if you're riding in the back, let's say, for example, taxis, they don't have a lot of room in the back for your legs. So you have to look in there into the vehicle. If they don't have leg room for you, it's going to cause you to be cramped, be uncomfortable as an amputee. You may have to take a different ride, So that's important because getting in one where you have to lay in the back seat sideways, that's not very comfortable either. So nor is it safe, So that's something.
Oh, I have one more thing to talk about flying that was actually mentioned to me by, I think it was you, James, this weekend. There was a gentleman who was telling a story about flying, and he had his prosthesis on a very long flight over to Europe. I went to London, actually, and during the flight, his limbs swelled up. While he was on the plane, he had his liner and sleeve on and everything. He swelled up and he developed blisters, actually, from the pressure inside the plane. And he did not know that when you are on a plane, it is best that you at least roll your sleeve down and release the pressure, the negative pressure inside of your socket, and let your limb breathe, so that you don't get swelling like that inside the socket. I've actually heard about that happening to people riding on long bus rides as well. So it's not just necessarily airplane, but a gentleman I know took a 24-hour bus ride, and that his limb was suffering heavily after that. And this gentleman that went to London, he actually had to go to hospital.
Wow.
Due to the pain that it had caused him and the issues on his skin.
Absolutely.
So be very, very aware and careful with pressure changes and long distance use of your prosthesis in that environment where it's moist, it's hot, it's you're going to break down your skin doing something like that. So
very good point. I always release anytime you're going to be sitting for any length of time. It's always just a good idea to release the pressure.
Yeah. I know you guys had mentioned about hotels as well. Cody, what are your tips as an above the knee going to a hotel?
I will tell you all that hotels are, for me, not too difficult to get around. There's, elevator access. As long as it's not like long walkways to my room and down the halls and everything, then I'm fine. I've really only experienced that one time where I had to traverse a long, long distance in a hotel to get to my room from the parking area, and that was because it was a casino and all these other things you had to walk through in like a mall just to get to the room. But otherwise, you have access. You should have access to all areas in the hotel. So your pool, your gym, any of those things, you should have accessibility to those. I've seen pools where they will actually install a lift for you to get in. So some places are much more accommodating than others. I don't really, you can reserve rooms that have handicapped accessible bathrooms. So they're wider, larger spaces for you if
Roll
you
in
were
shower
to
if you
be
need
in
it.
if you need a roll-in shower. Look for those things, look for those rooms before booking, and make sure that you have access if you need it. If you don't see it in that hotel and you need it, go to another hotel in the area. Otherwise be very careful getting into and out of their showers. They may not have the seat like you need at home if you use the seat while showering. And be aware of that. If you're ever in a shower situation at a foreign place and you need to just basically stand and pivot to get in and out, or just put your foot down on the floor of the tub, my recommendation is not to put your foot on the tub itself or on the bath mats. Bath mats are also slick, but put a rag down, put a hand towel down in the floor of the tub and stand and pivot on that if necessary. Only if necessary, and you really shouldn't be standing in that shower. And don't trust necessarily always the bar on the wall to carry your full weight. I have had one of those pull away one time, so just be very, very careful.
Always check it first.
Always check
I
things,
always check it
pull
first.
things, pull on things, make sure that it's been installed correctly. Some of these are put in by contractors that maybe don't know what they're doing. Unfortunately, I'm not saying everybody doesn't. I'm just be safe.
I always check. I have handrails on my tub for my soaking tub to get out, and I still always check them because that's a situation where you really want to make sure that it's going to hold. In terms of shower chairs, the one thing that I do when you request a shower chair and they bring it up, I never sit directly on it just because I hope that they're cleaned, but so I'll always just put one of the hand towels down over top of it and sit on that, and it just gets wet. But it's just a matter of calling down. If you are in a regular room and you realize that it's not a shower that's going to be safe for you, just call down to the front desk, ask for a shower chair. They'll bring it right up.
But I've been in situations where they didn't have one. But so what I did was I said, do you happen to have a wooden chair, or you have something that I can use and get wet? And they found different things. But I always ask for extra towels. Don't be shy. If you need 20 of them, can I get 10 more towels? I know it may sound like a strange request, but making sure that the floor isn't slippery, making sure you cover that seat, like Peggy said. I can't trust that they clean at the level that we need. So make sure you cover. And guys, I have to take off, but I love you too, and can't wait for us to continue to make more impact. This discussion, I know, is going to be great for all of us, but I will see you guys next episode.
Bye, James.
Bye, James.
So Cody, the one thing that I do want to mention in terms of hotels, when you're making your hotel reservation and you know that you need some accommodations, let them know at the time of your reservation. If you're making your reservation through a third party site like booking.com or hotels.com, there is a slot to say, I want a handicap room. always, always, always follow up with a phone call to the hotel directly. I'm checking in on this date. I'm going to need a shower chair. Can you make sure that one's available? It is required through the ADA that they have the accommodation for you if they are provided reasonable time. That's the kicker.
Okay.
So make sure that you just follow up with a phone call. I'm coming in, and they will have everything ready for you.
Yep.
Um,
I like having first floor rooms, by the way. They do make it a lot easier to get
they do.
in and out of the hotel. So,
and
yeah.
that's a crapshoot too, because for females, they tell you to never stay, if you're staying by yourself, never stay on the first floor by yourself. So that's kind of you really have to weigh, your priorities there. And sometimes just it's simple enough as calling and talking to the front desk. If you don't want to walk a long distance, you can say, I want to be on the second or third floor, but please keep me close to the elevator.
Yeah.
So those kind of things are reasonable to do. And it's part of being proactive, right? It's part of advocating for yourself and letting people know this is what I need.
Yeah.
And then they'll be able to do it.
This is another one of those things where, I've talked about the intentionality of the life of the, person with limb loss and limb differences. We move through life with more intention in that,
yes,
you have to think about what you put on during the day and your skin, you have to check it, and on all of these different things that you have to go through, the motions that other people don't necessarily have to go through. And this is just another thing that we have to think about ahead of time and plan our steps accordingly. So be aware of those things and stand up for yourself and say, hey, you're supposed to be able to get me this. If you're just really not finding luck with that, let somebody know.
Yeah, exactly.
Let somebody know and reach out.
So the one thing I want to stress too is don't be afraid to travel, right? Just because you need accommodations, just because you might have to pack extra stuff, it can be really scary going to new places and new situations, but there's a lot of growth that comes from it. And you don't want to limit your life opportunities because you're shy to ask for the accommodations or you're unsure. The beach wheelchairs are fabulous.
Yeah.
I used to love the beach. And so, I used to adore the beach. It used to be my happy place. Then I became an amputee, and I honestly, I like looking at the water. I like looking at the sand, but walking on it for me anymore is really not enjoyable. It's just not fun. Can I do it? Yes, I can do it. I can do a lot of things that aren't fun. But if you if you have trouble walking on the sand, most major resorts now do have beach wheelchairs that have the big old plastic tires. If the hotel doesn't have them, a lot of the resort towns will have them. I know that in this area, Ocean City, Maryland, and Ocean City, New Jersey are the two big kind of touristy beaches in my area. And those towns actually have a surplus of beach wheelchairs. Call them, let them know I'm checking in on this date. They'll have a beach wheelchair there for you, and you can use it the whole time that you're there, and they don't charge for it.
Very cool.
So
very cool.
Kind of knowing that kind of information and doing your homework. And one way to really do your homework on this is to connect with other amputees. Right? Connect with other people who have traveled in that area. And I'm gonna pitch Whole Person again, because I think that that's a fabulous place to connect with other amputees. So if you're not part of our Whole Person network, you should be, because you're really missing out. And you can visit Mighty Network and then search for Whole Person. Or you can connect with Cody or myself, and we can help you get into the network. Talk to your practitioner about it as well. They can help you get connected. But one of the best ways really is just connecting with other individuals with limb loss and with disabilities about what the areas have to offer.
Awesome. Okay, let's end on some fun stuff. Do you know some freebies?
I do. Well, okay. So Amtrak has disabled fares. If you have a disability, for you and for all of your companions.
Wow.
And you usually save anywhere between 30 and 45%, which is significant because some of those tickets can get very costly. Most airlines will waive the bag fee if they know that you have a disability. Even if you're carrying your prosthetic supplies on, if you let them know that you have a disability, they'll take that $35 charge off your flight, which is also a really nice freebie. Greyhound Bus offers disabled fares anywhere between 20 and 30%, depending on the route and the region of the country. Let's see. Yeah, those are my
Okay.
freebies.
Very cool.
And of course, like a lot of areas that you go to, touristy areas will have discounted fares and discounted rates for different activities and things like that, depending on where you're going. So, you know, the internet's a fabulous thing. So just hop online and check it out and see, gee, I wonder if I could save some money. And a lot of times you really can. And they do it as a courtesy. And, you know, it's a nice little perk, and that's how I view it, because you do have to be so intentional with your life when you're living with limb loss, and you have to plan for so many things that every once in a while it's nice to be like, oh, I'll take that perk. Thank you very much.
Exactly. That's something I think just too few of us know to really look out for ourselves, you know, and really understand what we are truly entitled to. Like, and there's some people that, you know, they really think negatively of the word entitlement, but when you're living with a disability, you're at a level of physical deficit that, you know, those perks are there to equalize life for you.
Absolutely.
Right? That is what that's for. And it's appropriate, and it is a good thing.
Yes.
To help people to live life to the fullest and enjoy life like everybody else can.
Exactly.
To the best of everyone's ability to pitch in as a society and help us, you know, to all come alongside one another and let everyone experience the fullness that everybody else does. So, all right.
Awesome.
Take advantage of it.
Yes.
And ask questions on Whole Person. And we're going to put up some of these resources for some of the travel things that we find as time goes by. We'll always be adding to it. So look for that and glean from it, and definitely start some conversations. And if you know you're traveling somewhere, say, hey, if y'all live in this area, what's good to eat?
Exactly. Exactly.
Because you're not just your limb loss. You also like to eat food, and you like to go see shows, and you like to go.
Exactly. Where should I go? What should I do? Don't be afraid to ask. Absolutely.
Those are real people there that know all the ins and outs too. So
yes.
Cool.
Great talking with you, Cody.
So fun today.
Yes.
I love this.
Yes. Are you traveling this summer? Are you going anywhere fun?
I don't foresee anything right this minute, but we'll see what happens. And yeah, I mean, I know I will be going a little bit all over Texas, so.
Well, that could be fun.
Yeah, it could be fun. It could be fun. I really wanted to get my whole family out and do something, but there's just a lot of moving parts there now with 3 kids working.
Yeah.
That it's just kind of like, I don't know, we're going to get all of us out. So, but we'll see.
Eventually.
Eventually.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.